So the old year is finished, the new year has started, which means new episodes of HEMA reviews and hopefully new sparrings for you, which you will enjoy immensely, I hope, new trainings and everything you love doing. At least I hope you love doing sword fighting in any form, any shape. Happy New Year's, welcome to HEMA reviews and have a good one. So today I'll be reviewing this beauty. This is a Regenyei Trnava Light. It's not a true Trnava, it's a lighter version. It's made of 6mm instead of thicker stock, and it weighs 1.6 kilograms. I think 1.6 kilograms is a great weight for a feather. I personally dislike the feathers that weigh less than 1.5 kilograms. I know that's personal preference, but I'm glad we have another model of a feather that weighs over that. Now, for the handling characteristics, it handles quite well. It's 135 centimeters long, 100 centimeters or just slightly over is the blade, the rest being the handle. The point of percussion is what it needs to be, that is at the third of the blade. Wait, let's see. Yeah, you can probably see it right about here. Yeah, here I think it was. Yes. The back rotational, not rotational, but vibrational node is about here. Can you see? Yes, you can. About here. Now, this might be just a little bit too far back. However, once you put gloves on, so let's say it gives me an extra centimeter of space, it's exactly what it needs to be, which is great. So, it has the vibrational nodes when what it needs them. It has the forward pivot point where it needs to be, the length is good, the weight is good, so handling is great actually, it handles lovely. The point of balance is a little bit far forward, it's 8.5 centimeters, which does make it a little bit slower than most swords, but surprisingly it doesn't make it that heavy a hitter. I really thought this would hit hard, but it doesn't, which is a good thing. Now, if we go on to the safety things, which I mentioned in my What Makes a Good Longsword video, let's take a look at the flex. Now, the flex, it does flex in the last third, mostly, but it is still quite stiff. However, I'm not sure if this is true, I'll have to check, but I think it's very slightly more flexible than the regular models of the feathers. This might be because it's a little bit more wide at the end, which means even when you get stabbed, it doesn't hurt as much because the surface is somewhat bigger. So it might just be that, but I do actually think it's a little bit softer than the lighter versions of the standard feathers, which is weird. The edges are nice and rounded. Let me check if you can see. The point is also nice and rounded. I like round points. Now, I know some people say that round points can act as ice cream scoops. I don't see how that can happen. Even if you have just like a spatulated point, it can take skin off of your fingers if you're not wearing any protection. So I don't think that's a really good argument against points. Now, I know that for some people, points were broken, like here, right down the middle of the rolled point. And that is more of a problem. However, that doesn't happen often, and it's happening even less often now when the smiths are actually gaining some experience. So safety-wise, I'd say it's quite a good sword. It handles well, it doesn't hit as hard as I thought it would, and yes, that's pretty much it. Now for the Miscellaneous. This is gonna sound a little bit weird, I know, but I have had several comments made on this particular sword that it actually feels slightly dead in hand, that it doesn't feel so alive, and it's odd. I agree partially. It handles lovely, but you need to get it moving. Once you get it moving, you forget how it feels when it's actually stationary. If it's stationary, it doesn't feel that nice. Once you actually get used to it and start making various cuts with it, then it starts coming alive. I still would wish that it had its point of balance slightly back, but this is good as it is as well. Now, I believe this model costs around 230 euros, which is a very fair price for the model. It is far, far superior to the standard Regenyei feathers. If you're buying a Regenyei feather, buy a Trnava. Now, I wouldn't personally go with the Trnava Light. I'd go with the 1750 grams version, which has a point of balance at 6 centimeters, I think. However, even if you go with the Trnava Light, it will be better than the Regenyei standard faders. It also has some weight at the end. It has a wide end of the blade, which means there is some mass there, so you can actually feel where the point goes. It's not just about balance, it's about weight distribution as well. And this blade has an incredibly good weight distribution, much better than the standard Regenyei faders, or actually most of the faders out there, I think. So now if we talk numbers, for handling, for pure handling, I would give this sword somewhere between an 8 and a 9. I'm leaning a little bit more towards the 8, because it still does feel a little bit dead in the hand until you get it moving. It does have a point of balance that's a little far out, for my taste, that is, and that's basically it. It handles really nicely in the bind, I like that. So yeah, I think an 8 is a fair grade for the handling. Safety, well, most of the things have been taken care of for safety. You have nice and rounded edges, I forgot to mention that, of the crossguard. They won't hurt too much if you get hit with them by accident. They still will hurt, of course, but not as much as if this was like pointed or something. So for safety, I would give it a 9. The one thing I would like to see a little bit more of is the flex. It's still a rather stiff blade, so let's see how much I can actually... This is about as much as I can flex it, so I can't even flex it to 90 degrees unless I actually press it into the ground. It does flex to 90 degrees, it does come back to true. We've tried it, we've had some pretty strong stabs with this where it flexed to 90 degrees. It wasn't a pleasant stab, but the sword did flex nicely, as it should. So yeah, a 9 for the safety of the sword. It's a good, safe sword. Now the Miscellaneous. I hate to say this, but it's an ugly sword. I mean, it doesn't look nice. The design is okay, but the finish is very utilitarian. You pay what you get what you pay for, I guess. So that's a fair deal, and it's a tool, and it looks like a tool. And actually, I'm happy that it looks like a tool, because all of the pimped out, uber polished blades they just get burnt really quickly, and yeah, they start looking like this one quite quickly, so it doesn't matter how pretty the blade actually looks. Now, the rest is good. How it transitions from the pommel to the handle is good, how it transitions from the crossguard to the blade is also good. The shield is nice and wide and nice and long, so you can't get your thumb hit, no way, no how. The crossguard is shaped nicely, so this actually catches the sword on here more often than I would have thought, since it's sloped. So for the Miscellaneous, I can only say good. Everything about it is nice. This, or well, actually I would recommend the regular Trnava models, is my go-to recommendation for a fader. It has my seal of approval, and if you are looking to buy a fader right now, I don't think you can do better than a Regenyei Trnava. At least if you don't go with custom smiths, of course. So that was the Regenyei Trnava fader. It's a great sword. Overall, I would give it 8.5 out of 10. It's one of the better swords I've had. Now, if I actually had... I did handle some of the regular Trnava models. I like them slightly more. So, if you're gonna buy a real Trnava model, is my personal recommendation for you. So next time, I'll be reviewing this beastie. This is a Pavel Motz Lichtenauer. I think some of you call him Pavel Mok. So, this is an interesting beast of a sword, as I will later say in my review, and one of these swords actually pierced my hand, so we have a bit of a history.